Hey Scorpio, this is Madeline to talk about your astrology for the month of May 2025. And I'm going to go ahead and share my notes here. I guess that's the good way to do it. And the month starts out with the sun in your seventh house of relationship in the sign of Taurus. And we just had a new moon in your seventh house at the end of April in an exalted Taurus. So some sort of new beginning in a relationship, partnership agreement, or meeting a new person that becomes someone that you collaborate with. Or a flat out romantic new beginning, meeting a new person, meeting your person, or meeting a relationship, starting a relationship. But the seventh house is often, it could be, a new moon in my seventh house. I made a new friend through meeting, signing a real estate agreement, a seventh house relationship, and they became a good friend. So then we're going to have the sun moving into your eighth house, which is going to put your focus on joint resources. And perhaps if the new beginning occurred, for instance, a relationship began in that new moon, you then move into a physical, it progresses to a state of physical, or it becomes closer and there's a lot of communication and intimacy, or you decide to take some sort of joint venture with this person and join your resources. Perhaps you decide to move in, hopefully not super fast, but the sun in your eighth house puts the focus on joint resources, finances, money, your debt. And there is going to be a new moon there in the end of the month. So perhaps there is new beginnings involved, joint collaborative ventures that you join your resources and invest together with other people, or you join with a partner and invest like in a property or a mortgage. But there's basically, and it's in the sign of Gemini, so perhaps also you do a lot of investigating and research and find good rates for a debt, for like a credit card. You take out a credit card, you decide to go into debt, and you're very, very, shall we say, do a lot of research on that, or you're researching investment options and looking in at the Wall Street and looking in at, shall we say, stocks. So it all depends on your chart. So if you want to go in more detail, do feel free to have a reading, and also please like and subscribe to my channel. I'd appreciate that. And also with Mercury in your sixth house at the beginning of the month, there's still a lot of focus on your day-to-day routines and dealing with details and stuff around work, perhaps dealing with your taxes, but also taking a lot of initiatives to start new cycles in your health routine, or a new job, or being more busy just in general. And then when Mercury moves into your seventh house in the middle of May, in mid-May, things are going to be moving forward in general because both Mercury and Venus are out of shadow from their retrograde. So you're going to be feel like things are moving forward. There's momentum gaining. Things are happening. Things felt a bit depressed and challenging, or like money wasn't moving during the April when Venus was conjoining Saturn for everybody. Things felt a bit tight. That loosens up now. And Mercury then moves, well, with that Mercury in your seventh house with the sun there, there's a lot of focus on, again, contracts, signing contracts. You might sign a rental agreement, or communication, a lot of focus and attention and communication. And you could say planning involving a partnership, your person, your romantic mate, or a um, collaborative business associate. Then you're going to have Venus in your sixth house for the whole month, and that is going to put a focus on service and your health again, and routines, day-to-day routines, perfecting or work. And as we go into the mid-month of May, something moves forward with your work. If that sixth house is activated more in a work way, then money looks to be good going forward. Some sort of financial income increase happens after the mid-month around your sixth house, around work or some service that you are doing. But again, it could also be you're in a health related field, so it would be work related, around health. And then you have the Mars in your 10th house. So you are quite motivated and driven to take creative risks and um, put yourself out there and interact and meet, have a good time at work. And I would say socialize with people and focus on being somewhat of a leader and sort of taking, shall we say, responsibilities and being confident and bold about taking sort of bold measures around your work and competing or getting involved in athletics, but t feeling quite competitive in the work world. And then you have Jupiter in your eighth, again, with all those Mercury, the sun, and this new moon in your eighth house with Jupiter there. You are doing a lot of learning, and you could also be interested in the occult, being that you're Scorpio, and the occult just means it's hidden. It's not evil, but everything eighth house is what we do not see. It's our subconscious, it's our psychology, it's plumbing, it's banking, it's our money, it's our joint resources, it's taxes. So basically, with Jupiter there, you're really expanding. You could be expanding a debt. Debt can increase quite a lot with Jupiter there, but by the end of its transit, which is going to happen in June when it moves into your ninth house, you could be very, very lucky that debt will yield you some very auspicious, like for instance, I invested in a piece of property and I had the fourth house, I had Jupiter in my fourth, and I did have to sort of live off my credit card a couple months to pay that mortgage, but I was able to I sold half that property and then I was able to pay off the debt and some. So whenever Jupiter causes debt in your eighth house, it gives you a really good potential for results, a positive feed up, a big because the eighth house money can suddenly soar up or it can be losses, but Jupiter is a very positive planet, so there could be all of a sudden a windfall and a soar up in money. And then when Jupiter moves into your ninth house, that is a very lucky house. And it's going to be in Cancer, which is a very, very auspicious. It's Jupiter in exaltation, which means it's very abundant and causes a lot of expansion in that house, your ninth house. And I will talk more about that in the next video. Now, with Saturn moving from your fifth into your sixth, you're starting to get very serious about your health and your day-to-day routine and being more disciplined about your work and showing up and being of service and being responsible and being very diligent and mostly restructuring your day-to-day routine. And I know when I had Saturn in my sixth, I did take my health very seriously, and I did. It's a very good time to quit things like sugar or alcohol or something and really restore the structure, foundation of your health and your life, really creating a very solid foundation structure. When I had Saturn in my sixth house, I started working at home doing readings as in tarot. It was literally that completely. So I completely changed my life routine because I was no longer um, doing work. I was working in a variety of different things, trying to find out what I wanted to do. But then I started doing readings at home, and that was Saturn in my sixth. You're stepping up to your true service, something of service, and it becoming your new routine. And it's in Aries. So this is the beginning of a new big cycle in your work. And this will be the beginning of it where you see a big shift in your day-to-day routine around this new beginning. Um, and you'll probably be doing this new routine for about 29 years to 30 years. So I'm going to skip over Uranus in the eighth, and Neptune is going to go retrograde in July, but I just want to talk about Pluto retrograde in your fourth. So there's something involving learning about your power involving family, where you have to take your power back involving family, mother, um, ancestral woundings. But with Pluto going into retrograde there's some sort of um, family lineage, emotional karmic healing that's occurring that's lineage from the mother that's there that has to go back and sort of relook at and rework, because it's, think of when Pluto went into the fourth house in November to now, there would have been some sort of emotional crisis or issue showing that was painful, that that is needing that you were trying to work through and trying to get your power around, but you may not have done it in the best, most healed way. So now Pluto goes retrograde. We get to go back and look at that. Everyone's going to be going back and looking at something that they're trying to transform in their life. And now you're going to transform that into an empowered version of that. And then when Pluto goes direct in October, you get another chance at this to do it the more evolved and healed, restored in a way that is truly the way you would handle this, being fully in your power. So you're going to see a transformation there in your fourth house, which is revolving around your mother and family. And then we have the full moon in your first house, Scorpio. This is kind of a tough full moon. I think there's going to be paranoid triggers showing up because the full moon brings something to clarity, brings it up into focus. You can really see something about yourself that I would say there's going to be an attachment, unhealed aspect of yourself that shows up that gets triggered, possibly in relation to Pluto being in retrograde in your fourth because you are ruled by Pluto. So something comes up that triggers you, um, that that puts you in pain, most likely, that you can experience a death feeling. But then you discover that that there was a breakthrough and a transformation around this. It basically shows you something underneath that's undercurrent, that's upsetting you, that you're not dealing with. These full moons bring it up. It's in your first house, and it involves your identity, what you believe about yourself, how you see yourself. You might be disappointed about something in yourself, maybe, or you just realize you aren't, you want to, you know, you discover something more authentic. You become connected to a more authentic version of yourself that you want to become more of and show in the world. It's like you have a transformation in your identity and who you are, and you become a better version of you, basically, in a full moon. You see a part of yourself you don't like, you throw it away, and you become a new version of yourself. It's you shed an old skin, basically. And then that's the full moon there. And then the new moon in your eighth again lines up with all that Sun and Mercury in your eighth, where you are beginning some sort of, perhaps if you in other parts of your chart you're starting a new relationship, or you've been started in a relationship for a while, you now join your new beginning in some sort of financial joint partnership agreement with your finances, with a marriage, um, or you decide to get a loan together, refinance your house, or you just decide to get a loan. That the eighth house can be just you getting a loan or you getting a inheritance. Someone can pass sometimes on a new moon and you get an inheritance, or you get a nice big tax rebate, or you discover some opportunity shows up and you're able to start cutting away at a debt. Perhaps Jupiter put a put you in debt, and now this new moon enables you. Maybe you get a new credit card that's zero interest, and you can start transferring that debt over, and you're clearing up your debt. But also maybe you have after that full moon in your first, and then a new moon in your eighth. I mean, that's Scorpio. Eighth house is Scorpio, the occult. Oh, you get inspired to learn something new about occultism, to start digging around. Also, that could be very much like detective work, or you start a new opportunity where you are doing research, that kind of a thing. Or you start a new investment opportunity, stocks, or you find a new really good investment portfolio that you want to add to your portfolio. So basically, it is a new moon as a result of the transformation that occurred in that full moon. And now you become more risk-taking in your finances, and you feel more empowered in general, and you take new risks, because the eighth house can also just be taking a risk. And also it could be a new relationship initiating, and it becomes physical and committed, more committed. So I hope that this reading is helpful to you, Scorpio, and that you have a wonderful month. Namaste.